Hey guys, it's Compiler Studios here. In today's video we're going to do something a little different. So as you can see, I'm currently in Google Earth Pro, and as many of you know, Six Flags Great Adventure has not released a conceptual rendering other than a couple of little pictures for Flash vertical velocity. They haven't shown what the plaza is going to look like, where the ride's exact placement is going to be, with the queue and station, what the entrance is going to look like. So I took it upon myself to take the plans that were released from the Jackson Township Planning Board meeting, convert them into a colored sort of image, and overlay them here on Google Earth. So obviously there aren't any three-dimensional aspects to this creation because it's very difficult to do that in Google Earth. I don't know how to do it, but you can see at least where the ride will be located from an aerial view and a pretty close to front view as well. So as you can see right here, this is Great Adventure. You can already see how different this whole area is going to look with the addition of Flash. So right here I have colored everything in with certain details. So for one, of course, this darker or lighter gray pavement here, that is the new concrete or possibly bricks that are going to be installed. We don't know what type of material they're going to use for this pathway. The blueprints tend to show it as bricks, but for all I can see, it could just be concrete just like the rest of Metropolis. This over here is the Arboretum, and everything in the lighter colored green is presumably where the garden area will be. So that's that. Over here I had to kind of make some guesses with the way they laid this out. So there's these openings inside the path itself, so I labeled those dark green. I presume they're probably going to keep some trees there just to have it not just be a giant concrete slab of a pathway, so that they have some differentiation inside the path. So I decided to put that there. Of course, right here we have the retail location, and right here is the food location, whatever that will entail. We don't really know for sure. And I do want to preface that this isn't exactly the way it's going to be laid out. It's very difficult to get a blueprint that has slightly different dimensions to be laid out properly onto Google Maps, which has slightly different dimensions than that. So you can see that some things don't line up exactly. Like Cyborg's Q building is just a little bit off. This fencing here is a little further out from where it should be. Same with this over here. So there's also this over here where the ride is not actually going to come that close to the pathway. The end of the turnaround area will probably be closer to here. So it'll come really close to the path, but it won't really go that close. So again, I had to take some creative liberties here because not everything was laid out perfectly. But basically from here, you're going to be walking down Metropolis's pathway, and immediately you're going to have that food location right here and the plaza for the ride itself. So on the blueprints themselves, they did have a big circle laid out on the pathway, so I took it upon myself to put the Flash logo in there because I think that would make the most sense. A lot of Six Flags parks do this with their DC themed rides. You see it at many of the different Six Flags parks, and I think it would be a pretty cool touch to have that here. Right here you're going to have the entrance portal to the ride, so basically think of this as being the Arboretum right here where it currently is. This is Cyborg's Q building. The entrance will be right here, right next to the end of Cyborg's Q building. So you'll go down this way. Presumably this right path is the exit, and the left will have the main queue, Flash Pass, hopefully single rider line as well. Right here, I didn't color the buildings in, but you can see that this is the locker setup. So I'm not sure exactly how the lockers are going to work because honestly, with where they're located, I don't think they're going to have enough capacity to store the entire main queue's belongings. So if I had to guess, they're probably going to start off by just having like Flash Pass or single rider line or something like that have access to these lockers, because those queues will obviously be much shorter than the standby queue, because like I said, there really just is not enough capacity with the size of these lockers to hold this giant queue worth of people's stuff. So you're going to go through the queue here, you have the first queue house, and you come wrap around all the way in the back of the catering area, come over here, you have another queue house, and this is where the line kind of splits off. If I had to guess, this is probably going to be the Flash Pass line that brings you right up into the station. This will probably be standby that brings you around a little bit and brings you up here. And just for some perspective, the queue line for this ride is going to come super close to the park boundary. This is the security entrance right here. So these are where you have those big locker buildings right here and some of the planters. So through that fence, you're going to see Flash's queue right here. So I'm really curious how they're going to change some of the landscaping around here, because obviously there's some pathways that are going to have to be removed. Of course, there's some fencing that's going to be modified as well. So there's definitely going to need to be a lot of changes made. And of course we have the station right here. I didn't color the building in or anything. I just wanted you to be able to see the track layout. This, of course, is the transfer track setup, so you can have that one little section here that'll switch over with the straight section. That's where the train will be stored. I wonder if they're going to have 2 trains. That way, if there is an issue with one train, they can put the other train on and let it keep running. But you can also see over here this dark gray sort of pathway. Those are the presumed maintenance pathways. So you're going to have one little maintenance pathway that brings you to the back of the transfer track. And this right here is the new transformer for the ride, as well as the electrical room, which I didn't color in. I didn't color the transformer in either, but the electrical room will be right up against the pathway here, underneath the spike on the other side of the ride. So that's where that's going to be, right there. And then, of course, Flash's track layout. You can see where the support footers are. I chose not to draw the supports because looking at them from this angle and the fact that I can change the angle here on Google Earth, it just wouldn't look right, so I decided to omit them for now. The only one I kept, of course, is the spike, but there's going to be supports here, they'll be all over the place, so you can see lots of red supports, but the implement itself is going to run right alongside the security entrance. So basically right after you come through security, you look to your right, you're going to see that stall element, the implement, whatever you want to call it, right here. It's a fairly tall element too, so I imagine you'll be able to see it fairly well over the tree line, because there is quite a large set of trees right along this side here. And you're going to go through, you're going to have your first booster launch, which is actually right behind the Lost and Found building. I mean right behind it. It is literally right up against the side of it. So I'm curious if they're going to keep that building or if they're going to do something different with it, because it really hasn't been used as a Lost and Found in a while. They tend to just send you over to guest relations as far as I know. So I'm curious what they're going to wind up doing with this building. But you're going to go through that booster, you're going to have that double up, which is going to bring you over the pathway, which I think is going to be a really cool visual. It's also going to run right next to the bathrooms at the front of the park. So say you're exiting the park right here, you're going to see the coaster flying by that first launch section right there, which is going to look really, really cool. You, of course, have the double up, and then you have that drop down, the twist, and I think this is going to be one of the most photogenic parts of the ride, mainly because from Dream Street over here, you're going to be able to see that part of the ride no problem, and I think it's going to look really, really cool. You'll even be able to see it from the fountain more than likely, judging off the height of the element. You'll probably be able to see it from over here, which I think will be really cool. And you're going to drop down to your final boost, go through the 0G roll, and I love the way they position the 0G roll over the path, because where you're at exactly 180 degrees, you're going to be right over the pathway. So riders will be fully inverted going over the pathway where the guests are going to be walking. I think that's going to be so cool. Photographers are going to have a really good time taking pictures of this ride because of the path interactivity. And of course you have the spike and it does the whole thing backwards. So this area right here where that third booster launch is, where you have the turnaround and everything, all of this is going to be fenced in. You can see the fence here, that thin black line. You also have some openings as well in the fence. There's going to be one right up there as well. So this is where, like I said, it's not going to run all the way up to this pathway. Obviously, it overlaps with that Fill the Thrill location, so that's not going to happen. But it is going to run pretty much right next to the building right here, which I believe is the bathrooms. You can even see here this thin black line, the outline. It should be a little further back because, like I said, it didn't match up exactly. This is a bit of an older picture from Google Earth. It doesn't even have Jersey Devil finished on it, so just a little inaccurate, but you can get a pretty good idea of how this is going to look. So you're going to be able to see, even from over here, more than likely, Flash running through here. And of course, we have the Arboretum, which is going to stretch pretty far into this backstage area. There's going to be a fence line here as well. So all of this stuff, the employee area, everything like that, is going to be built right over. And something I noticed on my most recent visit to the park was that the pathways that are already back here from the Old Country area aren't too different from this layout that they have in the blueprints. So I wouldn't be surprised if they wind up reusing some of that concrete, which I think could definitely help with saving time and money on implementing this new Arboretum. It's definitely much larger than the original one and oriented a little differently, so I'm excited to see how that looks. But overall, I think Flash is really going to kind of complete this whole area of the park. Of course, there's still a little bit more room back here if they really wanted to do something. I always thought it'd be nice if they made another connection for the DC Universe area right here next to Mama Flora's and the Mirror Maze building over here, and then have it connect over here. But then you see the backstage area of Justice League, which they probably want to keep out of view for guests. But otherwise, though, I really do think, like I said, this area is really going to complete Metropolis. It's going to finally make it a full loop. So you start with Gotham or Movie Town over here, you come around and make your way through Flash's area and end out over here, as opposed to it kind of just being a dull empty pathway over here. I think this is really going to do wonders for this area of the park. And I want to know what you guys think of the way Flash is going to fit into the park, how excited you are for the addition. Of course, we're going to be covering all aspects of Flash construction. If we see new concept art or a new concept video from the park release, I will share it with you guys here. But with that being said, that is going to conclude today's video. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, guys.